As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
Brav Bros. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brav Bros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Boot and Rally Magoots. What's up, dude?
It's reunion season, and boy, aren't we happy.
I love reunions.
I'm okay with this reunion just because it means it's the end.
I agree.
You don't have to deal with VPR anymore.
Here's the thing. When we weren't recapping shows, I loved reunions because it's the culmination of the season. You get to hash out the drama. They're a lot of fun. This is strictly from a podcaster standpoint. Reunions are tougher.
Reunions are definitely tougher. I also wonder, because we do have a lot of complaints about the reunions, aside from, the better shows. I personally feel like reunions got worse when we started doing this. Because I remember the reunions before we started, and they were fun, and we got a lot of answers. Now it's just so convoluted, or it's just people making up stories, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense, and it just frustrates us. So I don't think it has anything to do with our podcast. I think that reunions are just dipping.
I don't think they're dipping. I think they're trying to drag them out into too many episodes.
Oh, well, that's definitely
I think
true,
that's honestly, because if you put, there's enough from this season that if you put it, and we're going to get, without fail, one of these 3 episodes is going to be good.
Yeah.
And they're going to get to the root of a lot of stuff that we want to talk about. And that's honestly my only qualm with reunions recently. It's not so much that they've gotten worse, I don't think. I think the biggest thing is they're trying to do multiple episodes. So there's always a dud, no matter what. There's always one dud episode that didn't need to be there. My biggest issue with them, honestly, in recapping them is because we like to go scene by scene in the shows, because our brains don't work as well, and that's easier to do that because we have a chronological order. And reunions, we're jumping back and forth.
You know what? Actually, though, for this episode in particular, one, there wasn't a ton of animosity, so you don't just have, we had the first episode last year, which was reasonable.
That was tough, yeah.
It was just really tough because everybody's just yelling at each other, and it's like, all right, what do we do? Do we just talk about how people yelled at each other the whole time? No, we can't do that. This one, at least we can focus in on 3 major points.
Yeah, agreed.
And I feel like we always kind of forget that when reunion season comes around. We're like, oh yeah, by the 3rd episode of the reunion that we don't need 3 of, we start to figure out, let's just break it down into segments of this is what we were talking about here, this is what we're talking about here, this is what we're talking about here, and then we'll just discuss.
Yes, I think that's our approach as of late. It does make it easier because obviously there's a lot to talk about. We need to figure out how everyone's reacting, how everyone's responses are, all of those good things, and that's what you get out of reunions. So this is not us bashing reunions.
No, not at all. It's just saying that it's really difficult for us to recap.
Yeah, they're harder to recap, that's all. And before we get into it, I just want to bring up 2 things. The first thing, because I'm wearing my Kansas City Royals shirt, I want to remind our listeners, those that don't follow us on Instagram, as you know, my little brother plays for the Kansas City Royals, and he has decided to start a community outreach program, which is really awesome. I'm really proud of him, and this is just what my brother does. He's a very kind, hardworking, motivated individual, and I'm really proud of him for doing this. And what it's called is Project for Kids, spelled Pro. The J is actually a 7 because that's his number. Project for Kids, and you can follow him on Instagram. He's just getting it up and running. I think we got him 150 followers when I posted it on Instagram. If you're listening to this, if you can do me a solid, do my little brother a solid. He's trying to give back to the youth in his community, and I know him. He's going to put all of his effort into this and make it super successful, and it's probably going to leapfrog into something even more amazing. So if you guys, our listeners, our amazing audience, could do me a solid, do Stone a solid, go follow his Instagram, Project for Kids. The J in Project is a 7. Give him a follow, show him some support and some love. It would mean the absolute world to me and to him. So go follow Stone, Project for Kids on Instagram. And our second thing is we have started Brav Bros members. A lot of you have signed up. We are at, I think, 105 followers.
Yeah, we're over 100. We hit the 100 mark at some point last week, so now we're just on to the next milestone. Let's get to 150.
150, baby. So that link is also in our bio on Instagram. And if you scroll down to the show notes in this episode, it is listed right there. Click that. It is $5 for the month or $50 for the year. What it does is it gives us more freedom to give you guys more content. We're going to do monthly Zooms with Q&As. We're going to do merch drops. We're going to do all sorts of exclusive content for members only. So go sign up, Bravo Bros members. We'll see yous there.
Sure will.
Other than that, as we said, reunions are chaotic. So let's jump in so that we can start to break this thing down appropriately because there is a lot to talk about in this episode. I actually didn't mind it.
I didn't either.
When I initially watched it, I was like, oh, man. And then I thought it through. I looked at some socials. I went and actually rewatched some of it. You walked in on me rewatching some of it.
Not the first time I walked in on you, am I right?
The funny thing is, to that point, I was going to bring up, if you guys haven't listened to our Preston interview, we actually were talking jock straps. We were sent by Carter Ware. I'm going to give Carter Ware a shout out. They were nice enough to send us some jock straps.
Yeah.
So we have options too.
They gave us a pair of briefs.
Some briefs.
They gave us looked like a red jock strap.
Some mesh briefs.
Mesh briefs. Is there another one that I missed?
I think there was 2 different colored jock straps.
Okay. All right.
We got options.
Got options?
I just got to say, it was so nice. They reached out to us immediately, sent us this stuff. I think it's really cool that they did that. So I promise you, you're not going to see it, but I will wear it when we do our Martha's Vineyard episode next week. I will wear the jock strap.
Okay.
Under my shorts.
Under your shorts.
But I will wear it.
Not even the members are getting exclusives on that.
No one's getting that, but I will wear it during the episode just, to try it out. Because Preston said once you start wearing them, they're way more comfortable. You never go back. So we got to report back.
We'll find out.
We will. We sure will. But let's get into the VPR reunion, and we start out with the living situation of Tom and Ariana. And I guess at this point, there's a petition from Ariana to get Tom to sell the house.
Andy had said that she had filed it 8 months ago by the time that the reunion started. So that would put them, because they did say that it was St. Patrick's Day. We know we love timelines on this sort of thing.
Love a good timeline.
So we're looking somewhere around July of last year is when she did it, which is right around when they were filming. So I guess she couldn't really talk about it during the filming. And we kind of dropped it. I know originally, and there was a big sticking point when Lala was bringing it up and then Tom was bringing it up, and it was a whole thing. We had an idea that there was something going on there, and we found out that she was also bidding for other houses, trying to get out of there. So there was a lot going on behind the scenes, but it sounds like she had filed this 8 months ago in July, and they can't talk about it right now, which is always so funny. I love that when they do that on reunions, especially.
I know.
Like, hey, what's going on with this? It's like, it's in litigation. We can't talk about it. But later when that happens, Sheena decides to chime in and say, no, we could talk. I could talk about it. I'm not part of this.
Yeah, exactly. But we get at least some movement, I guess, as to selling the house. Whether or not Tom and Schwartz buy that house is another thing that we get to discuss today, which it's just a sad premise, honestly.
Yeah.
But Ariana has been staying in an Airbnb in California, but she's spending most of her time in New York City with Dan, and things seem to be going well with them. They're just over a year dating now, so I think we can finally put to bed the whole, they started dating so soon after. It's like, yeah, but they're still together. They seem to be doing well. And I like Dan. I like Dan a lot.
Yeah,
he was
Dan's great.
Yeah, he was nice. Like, he's a normal dude. And clearly, because when he came into the scene so quickly last year, after Scandal, a lot of people were like, oh, he just wants to get on the show, this and that. This man does not want to be on the show. He very clearly doesn't want anything to do with this show.
No.
So I like Dan. I like Dan a lot, but
you have to imagine that Bravo probably called them and said, hey, do you want to show up to the reunion? You want to sit in the reunion? Like, no.
Oh, yeah, I bet they did.
Not at all.
But as far as like the Toms living together, and LVP asked, like, why? And the answer...
Oh, God, dude. The
answer was
brutal.
Astounding. Sandoval's like, my dad's 60. He's got roommates. I was like, oh.
Ugh.
That explains a lot.
It's even worse.
That explains a lot, honestly. No shade at Sandoval's father. I don't know him. He could be a great dude and maybe just likes to live with his boys. Who knows? But again...
I'm going to throw shade at Sandoval's father. That's fucking weird.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a strange setup, but it explains a lot.
Do you think that Sandoval's father has to live with his roommates because Sandoval spent all of his mom's money on Schwartz and Sandy's and they're now broke?
I don't know.
I have no idea if his parents are
There's
together.
no way they're together.
Probably
if his dad's
not.
living with roommates.
I don't
know what I mean?
know, dude. I don't know.
We need a reality show there, apparently. Get the cameras up, Bravo. But
it's like the Golden Bachelor, but it's
Sandoval's dad.
Golden Bachelors.
I don't think that would be as fun.
It's actually
of
a pretty
show.
good. I like it.
I think it'd
Probably
be
better than VPR.
It would be a sad show, or maybe a happy show if they find love. What are we talking about?
I don't know.
Okay, cool. What I didn't expect to bring up this reunion was Rachel. I thought we were past Raquel.
You didn't think this was going to get brought up?
Not to this extent, honestly.
All
Yeah,
right.
I was actually a little surprised as to how much they discussed it in the beginning, but LVP brings up the podcast and how much Rachel's been bashing the show, and Sandoval wasn't sure if she would return to the show. He kind of gave her what he said, which I don't believe, but he always paints himself out to be this like very sentimental, I just want you to take care of yourself. If it's right for you, you can come back on the show. Like, I don't believe that that's how that went down at all.
No.
But the biggest question mark that I was actually curious about, and I'm sure a lot of people were, was, are there any regrets from last reunion? Because it was so visceral. Everyone came out of the gate so hot.
Yep.
Everybody stands by it. And I'm curious if Raquel had not gone on this press tour on Bethany Frankel's podcast, on her own podcast, the lawsuit against Ariana and Sandoval, like all the things that she's done in the wake of everything, would they have a different sentiment?
Probably, but it's tough to say because they went on this entire season of the Sandoval redemption arc.
Yeah, I know.
But they're still not taking back what they said. That was surprising to me. I thought that maybe there would be a little bit of movement in there where you'd have somebody like Sheena or Lala, who's been like his biggest supporter at this point, saying, maybe we were a little too harsh on him. Or James, who seemingly wants to be friends with Sandoval, which is really weird because he flip-flops in real time. From phrase to phrase, he will flip-flop. He'll attack Tom,
happen here.
and then he'll come back and be like, Tom, I love you. Like, let's talk about your wallpaper in your bathroom or your washing room or whatever. So, no, I'm more surprised that they didn't take any of it back. Or rather, I'm more surprised that they decided to just stand firm in what they said last year, because that's not what they've been doing this whole season.
No, I agree. It was an interesting shift, I guess, but not a shift because I thought it would be different.
Yeah.
And the way that Sandoval talks about her afterwards, he's like, Lala gives credit to Raquel for showing up, and honestly credit to Tom too, because I'm a tough bitch. She has to remind us all the time that she's a hard ass, which makes me believe you're not a hard ass, but whatever. And after that, Sandoval goes, looking back, she's a fucking coward.
Yep.
And now she's playing this victim narrative and saying that I groomed her and all these other things. And we do get the flashback to Lala saying the same thing. Granted, Sandoval doesn't know what the term grooming means.
Nope.
He is wildly wrong about it, honestly.
Yep.
I'm not even going to repeat what he said about it. But they're both complicit in this. Like, she was just as much a party to it as he was. Maybe he manipulated the situation to his own benefit. That wouldn't be surprising knowing him. He's a scumbag.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely was. Now, the grooming aspect of it all is, it's a very loose term for this, which is not usually used for grooming.
Correct.
It's a very damning allegation. But she was what? She's 28. He's 40. The whole thing is, what do we know about Raquel? Raquel's a super fan. She's a huge fan of the show. She was that before she was with James. So the fact that now she can potentially go with Tom, like, yeah, Tom is using his position in Raquel's mind as this star of VPR. Like, yeah, she was enamored by him.
Yeah.
And she probably said as much on the Bethany Frankel podcast, but I blocked that out of my mind.
Yeah, me too.
So who the fuck
Tried
cares?
to.
What I didn't care for was the comment at the very end, and I didn't expect him to just completely bash her, but once he started doing it, it made sense that he was doing it this way because he's hurt. And maybe he's hurt. I don't know if hurt's the right word. I think more than anything, he feels like, how dare she do this to me?
That's a good point.
Like, she would be nothing without this show. She'd be nothing without me. And now she's going on a press tour doing all of this because of what her and I did while I'm over here getting bashed day in and day out. Which, by the way, he got off easy because there's people defending him now. Fucking insane. She's allowed to go do what she's going to do, and people are wishing her the best because she's out of the public eye. She's not on this show anymore. So for him to turn and just start bashing her, that actually makes sense once he started doing it. The last comment I did not need. Well, yeah, obviously, when she's, getting naked and getting into my pool, of course I'm complicit in this. It's like, ugh,
Yeah,
dude,
and
you don't need to go that far.
You don't, and that's just his inability to read the room and the people in the room. And he takes it upon himself to be a savior in the moment and say, my biggest issue is that she dragged Ariana. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm like, Ariana, huge eye roll across the room. It's like, you're not going to get through to her. That's not going to work. Nice try, pal. But we get to the revenge porn lawsuit, and Sheena immediately jumps in. And she's like, she never sent it to anybody. She didn't do anything wrong there. She saw it on Sandoval's phone. You could argue that Sandoval is the problem here because he recorded without her knowing, but that's not for me to say. That's for the court to say. But Ariana didn't send it. She has since sent text messages to the court. She has sent the transcripts of everything to prove her innocence. So hopefully that lawsuit gets scrubbed and she doesn't have to go to court or anything like that. But
It'd be okay if at least Ariana got dropped from it and you leave Sandoval on it.
to go answer
He is the one who showed people, so
recording it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But again, Sandoval says it's insane that she's coming after Ariana. Another Ariana eye roll. But we get to a much more touchy subject, and that was the suicidal thoughts. I was actually surprised that they just flat out said it that way and framed this whole conversation of this segment. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
we're getting right into it, huh? And Sandoval starts talking about his ups and downs, and everything he does is under scrutiny, which is true. You don't help yourself because you do stupid shit. That's why you're always under scrutiny. And he, honestly, the self-awareness to say I'm not the smartest dude, I was like, wow, you know you're an idiot. That's good. That's refreshing.
Is that good?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I really don't
I
know,
assume that Tom thinks the best of himself, so him calling himself an idiot is a play.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. But look, Sheena and Lala both share my sentiment on the matter, honestly. It's such a touchy thing that it's like, look, could he be manipulating it? Sure. That could be a play that he's doing. It's one of those things that you don't want to question him on it because let's say something does happen, he does self-harm. Now you are part of the problem.
Right.
That is a much bigger issue. And Sheena says that she had had an experience prior where she had a friend that came to her and she doesn't love how she handled the conversation. Lo and behold, they ended up doing self-harm.
Right.
And she still lives with that guilt to this day. How Ariana looked at it was, look, I didn't go after him during this whole thing. I kept to myself. I let everything else play out. So I'm not complicit in it. So none of this was on me.
Right.
So she didn't take it upon herself to address it really, which is fine. She's within her right to do
I
that.
think the best way to look at it, and from honestly, from like a content creator standpoint and from their standpoint is, yeah, you're going to take it seriously as soon as somebody starts talking about that, having
Yes.
those sort of thoughts. You don't question that because at the end of the day, if Tom is using that as a play, he has to live with that. That's the end of the day.
That's a
So
good
like
point.
you can't question that because then you become a shitty person. You look at yourself a lot differently. You feel like, whoa, what am I doing here? Do I really hate this person that much that I'm questioning those thoughts?
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Don't even venture down that road because it's dark. Just try to be there as much as you can, or in Ariana's case, let other people be there because you know what? You're going through a lot of shit right now too, and you don't really want to associate with them. But at the end of the day, if Tom is actually using that as some sort of victimizing himself, let him live with that.
That's a really good
Yeah.
point. That's a really good point. And I think, Ariana touches on it again. Like when that sort of stuff came up, I've had my own battles with this, and that brought out things in me that I didn't want to make worse
Right.
by involving myself in this. So I kind of stayed away from it. And that's when we get to the weaponizing her suicidal thoughts and ideation. Sorry, suicidal ideation. And Tom flat out says, yeah, she brought it up, but it felt like she was manipulating me with it, with that threat. It's like, you literally just said the same thing that you're being accused of, but you just flat out said it. At least they didn't say
Now,
it.
when Ariana's doing it, all of a sudden it's a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's where, and LVP said it earlier, 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. It's like this is the same exact thing. Literally the same thing, but now you're just saying it, that she used this against me and manipulated me. And LVP points out the biggest part of all of this is regardless of your thoughts and feelings on the matter, Tom, she said that to you in confidence. She didn't blow that out on the airwaves. You did on TV. You said that. And he goes, because I didn't believe it. And Sheena had a decent reunion because she jumps in. She goes, if you wanted to call bullshit, then you should have walked out the door.
Yep.
If you didn't believe it, then you would have left instead of coming to my house and using that against her, blowing it all out of proportion, and then doing what you did and handling it the way you handled it, which was awful.
Yeah.
If you actually thought she was full of shit, you would have left.
Yeah. I mean, it's hypocrisy at its highest. You're going to sit there and you're going to claim these things on your end and expect everybody to take them seriously, but then you can weaponize someone else's. That doesn't really make any sense. You should be able to get what you give. And that's really how it should be. And you can see how Tom's mind is turning and turning during all of this because he starts talking about how everything that he does is under scrutiny. Every step that he takes, he gets bashed right back down. I'm just trying to live. And like you said, he even came to the self-realization that I'm an idiot. And yeah, I'm going to do some certain things. But when you think about at this point, this is now March, what he's done in the off season between filming and that, everything that he did was fucking insane.
I know.
The Vile show, any sort of appearance that he made, he was an
Billy Lee
asshole.
podcast
The Billy
he
Lee
did.
podcast, like, you're a dick. You're not doing yourself any favors. If you went and hid and got out of the spotlight, and yeah, even if you had a girlfriend and you were just doing whatever, that's fine. But you were going actively on podcasts and saying some of the worst shit that there is.
Because he still in this feels like a victim somehow because of the backlash that he got. And that takes us right to the George Floyd thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Let's take it right back to the George Floyd.
Exactly. And look, and people pointed this out that are weirdly Tom Sandoval sympathizers. Like, yes, we understood immediately what he was trying to say.
Right.
Like, the sentiment is pretty obvious. Like, no, he wasn't saying that he's OJ or George Floyd. What he was saying was that this captured the news media and the public attention
Right.
similar to those things.
But I love when he starts talking about the CNN thing because, yeah, we thought the same fucking thing,
Everybody
dumbass.
did, yeah.
We're like, what the hell is this doing on CNN?
Yeah, and even like Ariana's nodding her head, like we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
This got way bigger than anybody could have imagined, sure. But Katie's comment, intent versus impact, is just chef's kiss. It's like, exactly. Just because you were trying to compare it and that's the first thing that came to your head does not mean you have to blurt it out because of the polarizing event in which we're in.
Yeah.
By comparing this to George Floyd, it was shocking. Like when he said that, I still remember when that came out. I was like, what the fuck?
He still also hasn't learned his lesson because he's
No.
still talking about himself in the same breath as, and I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to say, why is this such big news that it's like these other things? But you can't say, yeah, I'm opening the paper. One, you probably don't fucking read the paper, dumbass. Two, you can't say I open the paper and I see Scandival and then right underneath of it is like, what's going on in Ukraine. Don't stop talking just stop talking about terrible things happening in the world and then you're dumbass.
That's a good point. But we move on to Lala and her custody battle with Randall. And I thought it was very strange that Lisa asks her, why are you so emotional? It's because you're pregnant? It's like, you don't have to do that. I don't like Lala, but that was kind of a weird shot to take. But moving on from there, we get to Sheena, and she's talking about Summer Moon and the postpartum OCD, which we got to learn a lot more about. She actually takes the time to explain the difference between postpartum depression and postpartum OCD, which I appreciated this scene. We like to call things out that are good moments where people are calling attention to actual issues. So hats off to Sheena there for explaining those two situations, because I didn't know the difference. Now I do. So that was helpful. And we get into the Lala and Brock fear. And I already saw some of the questions people have asked us for this episode. People are like, do you think they hooked up? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I really don't. But I do understand why she had that fear, especially considering Sandoval. And then she's in the comment section. People are like, oh, do you see the way they look at each other? Lala's response could not have been worse, in my opinion, to qualm any kind of concerns that Sheena had, because she's like, of course I look at him like that. He stepped up in a certain way that no other man had, and we are kind of like a throuple.
Why?
If I am...
And Sheena agreed. She was like, haha.
I think she was so caught off guard. I think she was like, oh, wait, fuck. Like, in that moment, flat out just say, first and foremost, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And then you can say the weird throuple comment.
Sure.
But I just thought that was a weird...
It wasn't even like she was making a joke. Like, she was just saying how she felt.
I know.
Like, she just let her feelings out about Brock after that comment.
I know.
What the fuck are you doing?
That's what I thought.
Like, I don't even think you make that comment at all. Like,
No.
you're saying, yeah, you can address it and say absolutely not and then do that. I don't think you even make that comment once.
That's a good point. And like, this isn't a moment where I'm trying to drag Lala, because we'll get to that at the end of the
Diffuse
episode.
the situation and you say, I would never, ever with Brock. Have you seen him in a man, what do they call it? Mankini? No.
Mankini, a Speedo?
A Speedo, yeah. I wanted to
Banana
call
hammock?
it yeah, banana hammock's good too. There's another phrase that I wanted to use. Man something.
It's a mankini.
Yeah, all right, Mankini.
Or a banana hammock is my favorite phrase. I think it's a funny phrase. But
We need to get Brock some Carter wear.
hey, there you go.
There we go.
There we have another plug for
plug.
Carter Wear. You're welcome. But we actually start to discuss Brock, and something that we have called attention to all season is we need answers about the situation with his kids in Australia. Now, this is a layered scenario here. This is not just flat out, have you seen your kids? Have you not seen your kids? Why haven't you seen your kids? We know that there was a domestic abuse charge involved with this and his ex-wife, so there's a lot of different things to discuss here, but The biggest thing for me taking away from this scene is, he's up to date on his support. And I'd heard people talk about this prior. The kids don't want to see him yet. And it's not that his ex.
How old are the kids?
I would imagine, I think they were like, and I could be wrong here, but I think when this issue came to light 2 years ago and they were talking about the fact that he hadn't seen them in a while, I think they were like 3 and 5 maybe.
Okay.
So I'd imagine now they're getting closer to 10, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. But they're old enough to be making the decision to not want to see him.
Right.
And
that's why I was confused. I was like, are they old enough to actually make that decision? Or is this some Australian, like, it's not like, I don't really understand how any of it works, but it could be on the ex-wife. It could be on this or that. Obviously, like you said, it's a very layered situation. We don't know all the details.
And that's why it's hard to speculate.
Yeah, I was just imagining like a 3-year-old, like, hey, do you want to see this guy? And it's like, who?
Yeah, right. Like I think they're old enough. Well, they're clearly old enough to make that call, or maybe like I don't know. I don't want to speculate. It's too personal, I guess, to them. But what stood out to me the most was the cast's reaction to this whole scene, because Katie even admits that she has to eat her own words because seeing him with Summer Moon, he's such a great dad, and everyone's breaking down and crying. Ariana's crying, Katie's crying, Brock is crying, Sheena's crying. Like the whole room is in tears. To me, you can't fake a room full of tears, and to me that points to, all right, I think Brock is at the very least, like, does he treat Sheena well? No. Is he a good dad? Seemingly, yes, he is. And I actually see him on Instagram.
With Summer Moon.
Yes, with Summer Moon. I see him on Instagram with her all the time. He does seem like he's a genuine father with her, and like this is his second chance to be a dad. This is the first time I felt sympathy for Brock in this scenario, and I understand that he did what he did, and actions come with consequences, and he's paying the consequences for those, and he may never get to see his other kids again. But I'm a firm believer in, given my own past, in rectifying your past and becoming a better person moving forward. So I'm not going to damn him for it anymore. It looks like he's making the effort. He paid his child support. He's reaching out, trying to get in contact with them. If it comes out that it's bullshit, I'll eat my words. But at the same time, I felt for him this scene. And a big part of that is actually because of the cast reaction.
Yeah, totally. I don't feel your sentiment, but that's okay.
Which is all right.
It's just at the end of the day, I mean, he made a decision. He left.
I agree.
He did what he did. He chased his dream to go to the NFL, as he says. Whatever. I don't fucking care. There's just still so many questions. Like, you went back to Australia, but like, did you try? I don't know if you tried. Or are you saying that you tried? I do agree with the fact that, yeah, you do have a second chance here, so don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
And it seems like you're not fucking it up, so good for you on that front. But you still have things that happened in the past that you did at the end of the day.
And that's fair. I mean, that's fair. It's a fair take on it. Like,
and my whole thing is, again, if Brock is a background character and we don't really care, then, I don't really have to talk about it as much. But you want to sit there and you want to give people a real talking to. You want to sit down and talk to Ariana about how she's handling Sandoval. You want to talk to everybody about how their feelings are going. Don't do that, because there's still so many things that you're not addressing. And now what? You address it this one time and I'm supposed to be like, oh, Brock, good job, bud. Like, no, I'm not. I'm just not going to do it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Look, that's a fair take. And, I'm a softie at heart. So when people start crying, then I'm like, oh. But no, I think that, there's merit to both of it, or both takes. It does not mean that I'm like, oh, Brock's a great dude. Like, good for you, Brock. Not by any means. But it is nice to see effort in some capacity. That's all I'm saying.
Also, with the people, everybody crying in the room, none of these people are great people. So
no, that's
when they cry,
point.
It's like,
yeah, but I don't know.
I don't mean that much.
I don't want to take away from the entire moment. I'm not saying it is this vindicating moment where everything's good. Brock's a great guy. I just more meant in this moment, I was like, all right, I feel for him a little bit. How about that?
Fair.
Again,
treat your fucking wife better.
Absolutely.
Jesus Christ.
Actions have consequences.
Maybe I'd feel better for him if he wasn't an asshole all year.
I agree. That's also very true. So I settled down. I was just saying a little bit of sympathy.
I know. I'm just not letting you go too far.
I'm not going too far. Because, again, actions have consequences.
I'm not going to let you go too far.
If you keep repeating yourself, I'm going to keep doing the same thing. I will get the last word in. Moving on, we get to Ariana's come up, as what I wrote down, and, the brand deals and Broadway and all these amazing things that came from this tragedy of Scandival that happened. And we talk about Dan. We already discussed that they're not living together, but they get to spend a lot of time together in New York.
Bi-coastal.
She's bi-coastal now, or wants to be bi-coastal. And Andy asks a question on whether or not this relationship with Dan was hurtful or helpful in processing everything. And she's like, you know what? I don't know, because I haven't yet. This is something, or a relationship that I'm enjoying. I really like Dan. We're very happy together. At some point when everything slows down, and I'm glad she addressed this because people have brought this up, like she's doing so much. Like, has she even sat down and thought about what happened to her? According to her, not really. She hasn't had time to slow down. And there's honestly something great about that, where it's like you are so busy, you have a new man, Broadway, all these amazing things are happening that you don't have time to sit there and just focus on the shit show that was your relationship for the past 10 years. At the same time, it is going to be interesting when that finally sinks in, and if it ever will, or if she is going to kind of just, with everything that she has going on for her, is she going to leapfrog past this?
I think she's going to leapfrog past it. I feel like the way that she's talking about the show, we find out later that she didn't even really watch. She didn't watch any of the season.
Not really.
Like,
she didn't watch any of it.
She's checked out of this show.
Yeah.
And it seems like she's checked out of pretty much everybody else except for Katie. She's keeping, Sheena, she's being nice to. Lala, for now, she's being nice to until they eventually show her that last scene. And I assume there's going to be a big blow up from that. But I think that she's just moved on to bigger and better things. And she's going to continue to go down that road. And as she said, this has been her dream for a very long time. We didn't really know that much, but this has been her dream for a very long time. And now she's achieved it through this tragedy, but she's able to go do that. And she's going to ride it for as long as she possibly can. And then there's always more things on the horizon for her. So she doesn't need the show anymore. And of course, that's kind of what we talked about all season, where that's where the resentment from the rest of the cast comes from. We still have to sit here and do this shitty show, and you're moving on to bigger and better things, and you don't need us anymore.
1,000%. And even to the point where the fucking producers are getting butthurt about it.
Who, Jermaine?
Jeremiah will forever and always be known as Jermaine on this
I love
show.
the fact that we got a 1-star review because we got his fucking name wrong. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Jermaine's a funnier name anyway. And everyone else that was commenting was like, I laughed out loud and was yelling at my radio. Radio?
I
Boomer? Guess, yeah. Okay, Boomer. At my podcast device?
Sure.
Cool.
Yep.
Moving on, we get to James and Allie, and valid question. And it's really interesting how he handled it because he's over it, clearly. But they ask, why was your relationship so scrutinized while Ariana's was not when she got into a relationship much sooner than you did with Allie post Raquel? And he immediately is like, well, I'm over it. It's not a big deal. Like, I don't really care. But I think it's interesting that everyone was putting us in the spot or the limelight while Raquel was the it girl and everybody liked her afterwards. But meanwhile, she was sucking Tom's wee-wee downstairs. But I'm over it. I don't care. I just don't want to talk about it anymore. Like, you're clearly not over it, which is fine.
James isn't over anything.
No.
Anytime that we bring up something that happened in the past, he's very clearly not over it, even though he'll take the time to tell us that he's over it 5 times.
Yeah, I know. But look, he has a valid point.
He does have a valid point. I can tell you why, but he does have a valid point. And the reason why is no one's going to be like, oh, Ariana, what are you doing?
Correct.
You just got cheated on and everybody just saw it on a national and worldwide level. So do whatever the fuck you want. Like, we're not going to scrutinize you for that. James, you broke off your engagement, or your engagement was broken off by Raquel, and then you moved on within a couple of months and said that you loved Allie. So yeah, people are going to have some questions, but people are going to move on at whatever pace they want to move on. It's not that big of a deal, but you're on a TV show, so people do have questions.
Yes. Yep.
And they're going to question the guy who didn't go through a whole cheating scandal before they question the girl who was blindsided and had to deal with it worldwide.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's why. I mean, it's pretty
why. Yeah. I understand why he's upset, but that's why.
You have every right to be upset.
Sure, it's okay.
But that's why.
Yep.
But we move on to Tom's new girlfriend who doesn't watch the show. Good. It's great news for you. And then we get to talk about Schwartz and Lala apparently being flirty because of one scene where they were
flirty.
But again, like, LVP out of left field. Oh, I would love that. It's like, dude,
what the fuck?
Why? Like, I know why. It's great for ratings, I guess, but not really. Like, if that happened, I would be like, oh, this is all fake. Everything's fake. I hate everything, and I'm never watching this again. Meanwhile, Katie's sitting right there. Like, and no, just no.
Just no.
Absolutely not. We get an update on something about her, which they said when this aired it would be open. I do not believe it's open.
Nope.
I know it's supposed to open this month. I
think it's
thought
the end
May
of the month.
21st
Yeah.
or something like that is when it's supposed to open.
23rd, I think I read. Yeah.
So we'll see if it actually does. But they start talking about the red tape issues they had to go. LVP jumps back in again. I again take this back to the Jeremiah Jermaine thing. I think she feels a certain way about Ariana's success.
I don't need LVP on this reunion right
She really
now.
doesn't need to be there.
She can come out, when the friend of comes out.
Agreed.
When Joe comes out, we can get
I agree.
LVP. Like, that's all we really need. I don't need her sitting next to Andy talking the entire time and trying to steer conversations.
I don't
I
either.
don't care what you have to say. You're an executive producer. Go produce somewhere else, just not right in front of our faces.
Go produce back at Vanderpump Villa. That's doing well.
It's doing well. It's
Yeah,
a great show.
We like that show. But you also get kind of the same energy from Ariana, because there was a comment made where she's talking about closing Pump, and she's like, 10 years open is a successful restaurant. Ariana's like, really? I'm like, oh, are they contentious? Because I didn't see that coming. It makes sense,
It makes sense.
but I didn't see that coming.
No,
And
I didn't see that coming either.
especially knowing that Ariana hasn't watched the season. Because had she watched the season, I would get it, because she would see LVP pushing this Tom redemption arc on Lala, on
Just
Sheena.
because she didn't watch the season doesn't mean that she doesn't know that it happened.
That's
though.
fair. Maybe
So
that's
I think
why.
that she does have some sort of resentment in the back of her mind towards her for all of that, for the comments that she probably made about something about her. Because, that's what LVP does. Whenever anybody else is starting a business, she always has a couple of comments about it
Every time.
every single time because she has successful businesses and that's just how she operates. And she always wants to throw some shade on the show. So I don't really blame Ariana, or I don't really question why she would have some sort of shade towards her.
I don't
That
know.
makes
I'm not
sense.
questioning
Yeah,
it. I'm just curious, like, did something happen that we're not privy to? Is LVP
Could be behind the
mad?
scenes. Maybe LVP's mad because Ariana's already told her and told Bravo she's not coming back.
Ooh, interesting.
Maybe LVP's a little pissed about that and gave her a little bit of shit.
I like that idea. That's not bad.
That's
but
my theory.
we get to Lala and Sandoval, and Andy asks, did it make you want to step back from Lala, having seen how close she was getting to Tom and how they were pretty much mending this friendship? This is where you find out Ariana has not seen the season at all. Now, two ways to look at this. One, I do not blame her, because she probably doesn't want to relive all this shit. She's moving on with her life. Two, and you could argue that this is what some of the cast members are frustrated with, is that's part of your job coming into the reunion, is to know what's been going on.
Right.
So I don't really feel any way about it one way or the other. Like, it's a kind of a non-thing for me. But at the same time, from a show perspective, not watching anything and then coming to the reunion is a bold decision.
It's a bold decision, but I secretly love it. Not very secretly anymore because I just said it. But I do love it because it will get more reactions. And again, we know that they do show that final scene for everybody to watch. And that's going to make heads roll. And obviously, it's going to pit Ariana and Lala against each other. I just hate, and we could see it right away when it started. Lala is trying to do this whole unbiased thing where we watched her the entire time and she was pushing for a Tom redemption.
Every time.
Now all of a sudden it's, well, I'm going to go after Tom a little bit here and I'm going to show you this and that. And it's funny to try to view it from Ariana's eyes. This is the Lala that we've seen all year. Lala was very supportive. And Lala in this moment tells Ariana, I feel like I've been pretty forthcoming and pretty upfront with you. You haven't.
Not at all.
And if Ariana had watched the show, she would know that you haven't.
Well, it's even
So
funnier.
it's funny because now she's saying, oh, wow. Yeah, Lala, you have been pretty forthcoming. And I just watched you attack Tom earlier, so you're still on my side in her mind. Maybe she knows a little bit more than she's leading on. I'm not really sure. But Lala's trying to do this now to try to, I guess, make up for all the fucking messy producing shit that she did all year. I don't know what her angle is on this, but she's always got an angle.
She definitely has an angle here. I'm not sure what it is. And it's funny that Ariana's the one that makes the Lala was transparent all season. And I really respected that. And we're watching at home going, ooh,
She was not.
not even kind of. But you're about to find out
You could
shortly.
just watch one of her confessionals and you'd realize, no, she's not.
Yeah, not even a little bit. But we get to the Katie and Lala drama, which is the main focus of this episode. And the root of the issue seems to be that they were close, but they were also getting closer with other people.
Yep.
I.e., Sheena and Lala were getting closer, and Katie wasn't cool with Sheena. And I guess some shit was talked in the DMs. This part I
I want
got.
to see the DM.
Yeah, I know. Where's the receipts?
That's why anytime they don't show receipts and somebody doesn't pull their phone out and show us,
I question
don't believe it.
I question
Yeah.
it every time. And Lala's saying, well, you said to get rid of your lawyers and what you need is a therapist, you clown. And Lala's framing it as though Katie was coming after her custody battle.
Which, no, even when you phrase it that way, I can tell you right now, Katie's not coming after your custody battle.
No, it didn't make
This
a whole
was
lot of
Lala threatening to sick her lawyers on everybody.
sense. Is that what you think it
That's what
was?
she was doing, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Remember, anytime that somebody said anything about Lala, it was a year or two ago, anytime that somebody said anything about Lala, she always threatened her lawyers.
That's a good point.
So,
I
yeah,
didn't
it's
even
just
know that.
it's in stride with everything that was going on. So yeah, I believe that Katie said almost that verbatim, but it had nothing to do with your custody battle.
No, I don't think Katie, she goes low.
She definitely goes low.
Could I see her doing that like in a super heated moment? Potentially, but I didn't get that from that statement at all. And again, if you're going to pull this out, let's see the DM.
Yep.
Let's see the receipt. Show us some receipts. But the big drama that we saw between the two of them throughout the season was, at dinner, Katie was or that was at the apartment. Katie was frustrated because Lala constantly will compare any situation to her own past.
Yep.
And what Katie was saying is, you might have had that experience, but everybody is different. So for you to try to label it a certain way, you don't know how Ariana is feeling about this whole thing. Not everything's the same. That's what she was saying, which is a very valid point.
Yeah.
And Lala's like, well, you jumped down my throat. And now they start to get a little bit heated. And this should have been Ariana's first hint that things weren't really on the up and up when it came to Lala, because now a little bit more starts coming to light. Now she starts trying to throw Katie under the bus. And all I got from this was Lala's trying to attack Ariana and Katie's friendship.
That's exactly what I saw too. I think that she's trying to knock Katie down a peg because she sees how strong their friendship is.
Yeah.
And she's painting this whole, well, I'm being very transparent with Ariana and you're not. Now,
Yes.
that is a mistake by Katie to be talking to Lala behind closed doors or outside of the cameras and venting a little bit. Now,
Yeah, yes.
it's Lala.
but-
She's going to spin anything that you say and use it for her own agenda, whether it's for the show or just because she's a shitty person. That's what she's going to do. And that's really what we saw pretty much the whole time. And I pegged it the same way. I figured that this was Lala trying to throw a wedge in between Katie and Ariana by saying things that Katie had said behind closed doors. That's really all I saw.
Yeah, and she gets on her high horse again where it's like, we've done this show for 11 years and it's all about being forthcoming and speaking your truth. And you told me behind closed doors in a private conversation that you were pissed at Ariana because she's not paying her half of the rent and she left you high and dry to go on tour and this and that. She made all of these allegations of her just dragging Ariana.
Yep.
What I imagine happened is they had a conversation. She was probably frustrated because you could tell that Katie got a little stuck for a second.
For sure, yeah.
She got a little frazzled there. What I imagine happened was she was going to Broadway. She didn't get a heads up there. She lets that be known to everybody in the audience. She's like, yeah, would I have liked more of a heads up there? Sure. What I imagine happened was she was venting to Lala because she was frustrated in the moment. Yeah, she's gone now. I'm left with this fucking store. We're not open yet. She was late on rent this 1 month maybe because she just didn't.
Yep.
It's not that she doesn't have the funds, clearly, after all the brand deals she's done. So I think it was just two friends and you're venting about the third friend, which happens. I don't think she expected it to be used against her, which is her mistake, knowing Lala, as you just pointed out. But Lala doubles down and just now she starts attacking Katie personally and says, well, I just felt abandoned by you this season. It's like, well, why? Like, what led to feeling that way? And Katie's like, because I didn't jump on the Tom train. That's it.
That is it.
The wedge that was driven between you this season was because you were on the Tom sympathy train and Katie was not giving an inch because she said last year, as you also said, Lala, as you also said, Sheena, that if this happens to you, you burn the bridge between you and Sandoval. You get rid of him and never allow him back in the fold. You went back on that because you're overproducing for the show, and now you're panicking because you know it's going to come out that you're not actually behind Ariana. You don't actually have her back. You're actually trying to throw her under the bus, and you're waiting for that bomb to drop, so you're trying to do your due diligence before it happens to break up the friendship between Katie and Ariana so that you don't have to go against both of them because you know you're going to lose this battle because you said too much.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what she's trying to do. She's trying to pull Katie down to the rest of the cast level when that bomb drops of everybody's jealous of Ariana.
Yes.
And you're no better, Katie. That's really all it is. It's going to come out at some point. Obviously, that last scene's going to play. Everybody's going to have their moment to start talking about how they were jealous of Ariana. Aria is going to flip out a little bit probably because people are just painting her as some villain that's up and leaving the show and everybody's jealous of her. And Katie's no better than that because of what she said behind closed doors in a little vent session.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not what happened here. And I think that's what Lala is trying to do is say, look, Katie, you're complaining about Ariana too. She's bigger than the show. She's moving on. We don't need her anymore. And then Ariana just has no one.
That's her goal.
That's her goal. That's not going to happen.
And she wrote
way.
this line down somewhere in the middle of the season and saved it for the reunion, thinking that it was going to be a fucking slam dunk. And she's like, well, you fuck with my business, I'm going to fuck with yours. Something about her, more like nothing about her.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Nah.
Boo.
Didn't really hit.
Nope.
Didn't hit. Wasn't great. And just a poor showing by Lala, honestly. Like, if you know that this shit's about to come out, I don't know why you felt like you needed to be the director of this reunion. She was talking the entire time. Anytime someone else had a comment, she was breaking down what they were saying for everybody else. Well, yeah, no, this and that. It's like, dude, that's why I thought she did a good job. She would chime in, pull back, and the points that she made throughout the episode were pretty solid.
Yep.
So she had a decent showing. Lala, very poor showing. I have a feeling it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse, and I'm already afraid because we had that little snippet where Lala and Sheena both bought houses in the valley.
Yeah, I
which,
know,
by the way,
dude.
neither of you can afford those houses without Scandival, so you should be happy that you're not Ariana going through all of this when she gets all of these things, because you get to reap the benefits without having to go through all of that.
Yep.
You get to go buy a nice new house in the valley, and again, if this show's over, where the fuck are you living? In the valley. You're going to ruin a show.
They're going to ruin the valley.
Uh-huh.
And we're actually recording 2 episodes this evening. We're about to do the valley, which again, fucking fantastic TV.
Yep.
Another great episode. But all in all, as far as reunions go, not terrible. I thought there was enough there to sink our teeth into. I'm actually looking forward to the second one or the third one. I'm not looking forward to both because only one's going to be the hitter.
One, yeah.
You think? Sometimes sometimes they do the second one, and the third one is just like a "what are we watching" episode.
You might be right.
I'm not. I'm wrong.
I don't even want to.
Let's not speculate.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's just
Let's
wait.
not.
Wait, don't speculate.
Wait. Let's get into some questions.
Is that our theme song for questions now?
Sure is. All right. There's a lot of who the fuck does Lala think she is in here, so that at least tells us that the fans are on to the right track here.
Yep.
Good call there for everybody who said that.
On the right track, onto the right track, whatever.
Whatever. It doesn't really matter. I was reading and talking at the same time.
Same diff.
And yeah, we already addressed the Brock and Lala potentially hooking up. Don't think it actually happened.
I don't think it did either.
But understand why you would say that. Let's go with from Exactly with ZACH in the middle. So I'm assuming this is from Zach. Did Katie betray Ariana when venting to Lala, or was Lala making a bigger deal than it is?
I don't think it's betrayal. I think that she was frustrated and vented to a friend, assuming that it wouldn't go anywhere else. I don't think that it was this big backstabbing moment. No, I think that Katie showed her true colors throughout the season by relentlessly defending Ariana at every turn. She never faltered. So I think this was just a moment where she was frustrated, vented, and that was like, it wasn't deeper than that.
From S. Santini, do you think Lisa Vanderpump is more sympathetic to the men on the show versus the women?
I do, actually.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I definitely do. And you can even take it back to the, why are you crying? Is it because you're pregnant comment to Lala?
It's strange. But meanwhile, like when Sandoval's got crocodile tears, she's like, he's so upset last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do agree with that.
From It's Sin, who was the best dressed woman and man at the reunion? Let's hear it, Fashion Bros.
I think Katie was the best dressed on the women's side.
Yep. I agree with that.
Men? James looks
great,
stellar.
right?
Yeah, he looks stellar.
Yeah.
The Kennedy,
really like that
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Said it. Yeah, James did it well.
Good, we're on the same page. Look at that.
Look, fashionistas.
From Pris_91, how do we feel about Lala implying she's acting like this for the show and lost touch? Do you think that like she's just been acting like this for the show for so long that now it's becoming her personality? I think there's always been like, she's always been kind of like this.
Yeah, I think
she's, if anything, she's just getting better at acting.
I think
it's
a played up version, but no, I think this is, I think that's her.
Yeah. From Daria_PNG, why does Lala dig at James and he's still on her side?
Because they are forever and always in love with each other.
That's a good way to put it.
Like,
That's true.
Pretty simple.
And we'll do one more here just because I think the first part of this question is really funny. From Stephanie_Muse. Sandoval came off as an entitled brat. Do you see a path forward for him?
On this show, if there's another season, yes, he's going to be on the show. Do I like the path forward is hard to say, like in what regard? Like there's a path forward with other people on this show. Yeah, there's a path forward with the saddest reality show ever, the Toms move in together. Like, yes, unfortunately, he has brought a lot of viewers to Bravo. So I imagine they will exhaust every single resource they have with Sandoval before cutting him loose. That's just how this game goes.
Yeah, but there's no path forward for him being a good person.
No, and like ever a path forward with Ariana? Absolutely
No,
not.
definitely
not. But I mean, yes.
Path forward Bravo wise, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They'll milk him. They'll milk him. I got nipples. Can you milk me, Greg?
Little Meet the Parents reference to finish it out.
Oh, yeah. But that's all I got. You got anything?
No, let's gear up for the Valley. And again, like I said, it's a solid first parter. It wasn't terrible. So I'm looking forward to one of these next two ones when we get the heavy hitting episode. One of them is going to be a total dud, as 3-parters tend to be, but one of them should hit. So I'm excited for that one. And then we can get to the off season of Vanderpump, which I'm actually excited about to see what the fuck the next step is.
God, we're going to feel so dumb if Ariana's coming back and they're doing another season and we were wrong about everything.
Hey, it happens.
I just don't want. I really don't want that to happen because this show would.
They need to
continue to suck.
shift it. They need to.
Yep.
Because this wasn't awesome. I mean but here's the problem is ratings.
Yep.
People watch. So it's hard to say.
True.
It's really hard to say. But other than that, Rob Bros are out of here.
Later.